I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, March the 23rd. And it's hard telling who's sicker with this cattle market, whether it's your guys that have their gas cattle put together and they were bought probably $20 higher than what the market is right now, or per head they're way higher than what they could buy that's got that same weight on them right now. Maybe your guys that have yearlings to sell and miss the boat. Most likely those guys would be the sickest about this cattle market, but now they're hard pressed on what to do. They may not have anything lined up on where to go with those cattle. They're not happy with what they're going to bring. They know that they should probably hold on to them, and this market could get better, but they may be out of options. Their banker may be wanting them to sell. Maybe the guys that have fat cattle ready, and if there's any of those guys left that didn't hedge them, they would be maybe the absolute sickest. But this market has been tough this week, probably one of the roughest weeks that we've had for a long time, and it's sitting right in a time where normally things are really gangbusters. You know, we're right on the verge of green grass. This winter's been so harsh late in the year on the winter season that we're probably a good month, 6 weeks away from some good grass. Normally it'd be April the 15th, but it's probably going to be longer than that this year because the nights have just stayed so cold, and overnight temperatures, the early morning temperatures, we're starting to get some sunshine in some places now, but a lot of places don't have the moisture. If you're in the southwestern part of the plains, we haven't had enough moisture to bring about any green grass, and up in the Midwest, some places where they have, just hadn't had enough sunshine and warm temperatures. But we'll look at the board late in the week on Thursday. June live cattle futures. We had a little reprieve. Of course, that's just your traders. They're not doing any good if the market's not volatile, and they really don't care what they're trading, whether it's widgets or whatever it is, as long as they've got a little bit of something they can play on. And they're enjoying this. June live cattle up $1.02 after being down all week at 108.40. That sounds pretty cheap. We may have trouble keeping cattle over $1 by the time it gets here. April spot live cattle up 45 cents at 118.15, and still $8 below what the cash market is. April feeder cattle up $1.80 at 138.02. March up 75 cents at 137.52. Your fat cattle trade largely over on Tuesday and Wednesday had almost identical trade, but through Wednesday 105,900 head. That's great movement, and that might have been a little bit of a spark to the board whenever that information come out there on Thursday morning, that we have had such good clearance of these really light show lists, and we sure need to be able to keep these things cleaned up and start trying to pull cattle ahead as much as we can to lessen the blow whenever we get into mid to late April. But your fat cattle trade through Wednesday on that big movement already, and still having a little bit of trickle of trade cleanup stuff on Thursday and Friday. We're going to have a giant week in the 5 areas as far as volume. But 126 is the market, and the dress market's a little bit tougher, but 126 on live sales. Your weighted average on all those cattle live is in the 5 area feeding region is 125.99. And that's down almost $2 from the previous week's weighted average. Your dress trade had a large range in it. We thought it started out 204 and then a lot of 203, but then as things got to moving and guys got to dumping cattle, it went down, and we've had dress sales, and a lot of them from $2 to 204, and not holding that weighted average up there very good in the 5 area feeding region through Wednesday's trade, and a lot of it 201.89, under 202, and that's almost $4 lower than previous week's weighted average. Box beef cutout values, they're going to be higher again for the week as we get through here. I mean, the packers are just laughing all the way to the bank. But choice cutouts late on the afternoon on Thursday's trade come out at 225.21. That's up 83 cents compared to Wednesday's close. And select cutouts 218.02, up $1.63. Your slaughter has been very aggressive. Why wouldn't it be this week? But it's not lending any fundamental help to your other cattle markets. But 473,000 through Thursday there, and that's up 7,000 from last week and up 7,000 from the same week a year ago. We're starting to get into some calves, some calf feds. If you look at your actual dress weights that come out for March the 10th, the week ending March the 10th, 881 pounds. That was 2 pounds less than the previous report. So these weights are starting to come off a little bit, although our numbers are increasing or are bound to here shortly. But look at your feeder markets, your real-time index on Beef Market Central based on the 800-pound steer and right at 800 pounds, a really good number, good test of the market. But 136.37 Thursday afternoon late, and that's down $1.94 just compared to Wednesday late, and that was down. Wednesday's was down big time, over $3.50 if you remember that. But look at your CME feeder cattle index, still hanging up there. That's after Wednesday's close, after we had El Reno and Dodge City and a lot of them sales that sold cattle a foot lower, still hanging up there at 139.39, and you just can't get that for 8-weight cattle anymore. You look at some sales on Thursday. Pratt on early sales there needed to get on the road and get this report done. But if you look at feeder steers on the automated market report, of course you don't have anything out for market news till Friday morning, so $3 to $10 lower if you look at the weighted average changes there. But popular weights on 8-weight steers, 366 head of 8-weight steers averaged 833 pounds with an average price of $129.72. That was down almost $4. 383 head of 9-weight steers averaged $929 at $124.97. Also down about $4 close to the change. But it's just tough all over. There's no sale barn in particular that's responsible for a lower market. You know, all those sales up there that we've been quoting this week, especially El Reno, Dodge City, all of those sales. Notice that Salina, Kansas was lower also, maybe not as much, but didn't have a good test early in the afternoon. You know, those guys are trying as hard as they can. They've got all the buyers that want cattle. There's just lighter demand around. Your feedlot buyers don't have the orders because they don't have any pen space to putting cattle in, and the cattle are not hedging very well, so it's just lighter demand. Nobody seems to need any grass calves as bad as they needed them 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now it seems like you couldn't give them one. And look at some individual quotes out of Pratt, Kansas there on Thursday afternoon. 65 head of 759-pound steers bring 145. That's a pretty good price. And now I'm going to give you a good price you may not think is good, but it is. 57 head of big steers weighed 1027 at 123.75, and that's kind of a bell ringer for the way things are. That's your feeder flash for Friday.